I have wondered sometimes how thousands of people gathered in a big open field could hear Jesus very well when he would speak. If I turn off my microphone, I'm a lot harder to hear. And we're in a closed space. There's only about 400 of us. But Jesus spoke to thousands in a big open field, and they could still hear what he was saying. He didn't have a microphone at all. So how did this work? People debate and question and wonder how this works. One idea that I've heard that I think is really interesting is that he had these 12 apostles. And so when a big crowd would gather around Jesus, when the crowd got too big, the apostles would go out into the crowd, and they would go far enough away from Jesus that they could still hear him, but that the people past them would have a harder time hearing. And so when Jesus would speak, they would repeat his words so that people farther away could hear them. They would echo the words of Jesus to the other people that needed to hear them. And so a giant crowd could all hear the message that Jesus was sharing. Well, even though there were thousands of people that would gather around Jesus, thousands are only a fraction of the now billions that are in the world. And Jesus told them to take his message to the ends of the earth. And so after the crucifixion and resurrection, the apostles kept spreading that word of Jesus. They traveled to Asia and to Europe and to Africa and continued to echo those words of Jesus. But the difference was that Jesus wasn't right there next to them anymore. They had to learn the words of Jesus so that when they needed to speak them, they knew what to say and they could echo those words. Well, then before those apostles died, those apostles we called by name today, they taught Jesus' words to other people, who then took them to more places around the world. And then they taught other people, and it went to more places. And eventually, it got to this continent. People like St. Isaac Jogues in New York or Junipero Serra in California. And they kept echoing those words of Jesus so that more and more people would know what Jesus taught. And eventually, it came here to Arkansas through people like Father Jacques Marquette, who you learn about in history class. And eventually, here to Fayetteville. And now here we are 2,000 years later, and I get to echo the words of Jesus to you. And Father gets to echo the words of Jesus to you. Your teachers get to echo the words of Jesus to you. Your parents get to echo the words of Jesus to you. And someday, soon, it will be your turn. So what's your job today as we think about the apostles and speak into these large crowds? Your job is two things. First, to learn the words of Jesus. That as we echo these words of Jesus, you listen to them, you learn them, you understand them. So when it's your turn, you know what to say. And the second part, when you have a chance to be with someone, when you're with someone who needs to hear the words of Jesus, you speak the words of Jesus. This is especially important for our 8th graders who a year from now are not going to be, some of you are not going to be at a Catholic school anymore. You will be around people who need to hear the words of Jesus, and it's your job to echo those words just like the apostles. And if we all do that work, if we all do that job, then we will help Jesus and help these apostles to do that mission, to do what he said, and to take his message to the ends of the earth.